Welcome to Saddle Up Live, a transformative podcast tailored for women aged 40 and beyond, where courage, God's grace, and a touch of sass are the driving forces behind conquering life's challenges. Join me, Lisa Koski, as I take you on a captivating ride through the multifaceted aspects of womanhood in this vibrant stage of life, covering everything from my journey through breast cancer, the intricacies of marriage, and the joys of motherhood, to the exciting adventures of grandparenting. Together, we will uncover actionable strategies for personal and professional development, providing you with the tools and inspiration needed to blaze new trails and seize every opportunity that comes your way, no matter what your age or stage. Welcome, listeners, to Saddle Up Live. I'm so excited that I have Laurie Gerber here today. Laurie is helping people over 50 find love, and I'm so grateful to her that she's doing this work. And what I want you to know is if you're looking for love and trying to figure out how to date, go to Doing Divorce Different, because we have a podcast that talks about it. Laurie's got a webinar about it coming out. All that information is going to be in the show notes. She's a great coach. I'm going to have her just introduce herself quickly. I know she's been on before, so we know her. She's a big deal. She's kind of my star. I get starstruck by her. I just love chatting with her. And what I really am excited to talk to Laurie about, and I know I'm going to probably be sitting here with my mouth hanging open as I listen to her, I want to learn how to date my husband. Both Laurie and I have been married for well over 30 years. And I do feel like in my life, my children came first. And then it's so funny, Laurie, because even when the baby by far, so I had a big spread in my kids, when that baby took off to college, I didn't jump into the relationship with my husband. I jumped into work.
Yeah.
And that hurt him.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to talk about. But before we do, just do a little introduction for our listeners.
I'm Laurie Gerber. I have been in the life coaching field for over 20 years now. I got started here before it was a thing. And I came for coaching in my business. I had a different business back then. And my coach took one look at my marriage and she said, you're going to lose it, right? Like you're going to lose your marriage if you don't fix this. This is an emergency. And guess what? If you fix this, everything else will cascade positively from there. So it is your foundation, your relationship with your husband. If you want to save your marriage, it's an emergency. Get going. And the things she taught me in that process of, I call it saving my marriage, I call it my near divorce experience, are still with me. And I use those tools literally every day, including today. And I don't think I'll ever stop. I hope I don't, because they're working. It's getting better and better. We are by no means perfect. And we certainly have had our rock bottom moments. But I don't know how people do without these tools. I really don't know how people, I know you've been very lucky. And there are
Exactly.
few people out there who do seem to be able to somehow hack it without the tools. But I certainly couldn't have. I certainly would be divorced now if I hadn't had the tools that I learned in that process. And so that is what inspired me to do this for a living. And I continue to work with singles who are looking for love, as well as couples who are struggling to either reconnect or optimize or avoid divorce or have an amicable divorce, because sometimes differences are irreconcilable.
Exactly. Well, we're so happy to have you here. And I am so excited to learn these tools because, like you said, I don't know if we call it lucky or blessed or whatever it is, but I'm still in my marriage. And all that I can say is the one thing, and then what I've learned about this through the coaching that I've done too, like when you have a feeling, being aware of it can oftentimes be a lot to save it. And so I guess I'm kind of equating my marriage with that, where I became aware of, holy heck, I am not giving my husband any attention. I'm not loving him like I should be. And I think that awareness is helping.
And isn't it silly how simple that really is?
Mhm.
Right? Because, it has come to our attention that children need attention, right? Like we got the memo.
Yes,
Children, they'll
yes.
thrive. But somehow there is no memo going around about pay attention to your husband, right? Like,
Right.
pay attention to your husband.
Amen.
It sounds almost sexist, right? Like, it almost sounds bad
Right.
to your husband.
But you'd say the same thing to the husband, pay attention to your wife.
It works surprisingly well.
Yes. Yes, yes, yeah, and so I cannot wait to jump in and hear these tools, Laurie.
Yay. Where shall we begin? Want me to just wrap.
So I'm thinking of like say you're someone and I know this time of year it's not so on the mind, but when I think about my baby leaving for college, and this is the time that people fall in love again and they have all this time together, and I was so wrapped up in
No, it's the time that you get divorced, actually.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Statistics, yeah.
That's crazy because you're like, okay, who am I? Who am I without being this mom? And my whole life was so devoted to that. I mean, all my free time, I didn't have time to do a workout class or be with people that I like to be with. I had to be with not that I didn't like them. I love the volleyball parents or whatever it was. Those were my people because of the situation I was in. And so I think I had a little bit of a
Right,
what's happening because I have active kids. I was in their lives. I volunteered. And
right.
suddenly, but I didn't look at hubby. I looked at career and
Well, you're pointing to the first choice someone has to make, which is to invest in revitalizing your marriage, right?
yes,
So that is I can give lots of tools and tips and advice, but if you have not made up your mind and your heart that this is something important to you, I mean, it had to get near divorce for me to do that. It sounds like it did not have to get near divorce for you, but it had to get near divorce for me to go, uh-oh, like if I don't want to lose this, so I bet I only have one alternative, which is to improve it vastly. So the first thing is to make that choice that you're going to invest, just like you make a choice you're gonna help out at your church, or you're gonna babysit your grandkids, or you're gonna
right.
start working out, or start learn a new thing. It is an area of life. It requires time and energy and concentration and focus. And so you first have to make that decision that you're gonna care. And then I can start to tell you where the most common issues are. You'll be amazed. Couples really argue the same thing. There's nothing new under the sun.
Awesome. Okay. And can I ask, is it kind of the same whether you're a man or a woman?
No, men and women have different complaints.
Okay.
Literally, so from what I've seen.
All right.
There's three areas that I think we can address today in a short amount of time that people
Okay.
sex,
Yes.
communication, and division of labor.
Okay.
Any of these ringing a bell?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's a minute.
I'm not blank. Generally, it's the man complaining about the sex or lack of
Yep.
sex, or not complaining about it externally, but certainly complaining about it internally. That can be there can be a gender role reversal there, but that's the trend that I have seen. Women Most women, as part of the courtship, did offer sex and sexuality and sensuality and romance and all those things, and many women take it off the table over time and then blame their work and their kids for it, eat, watch TV, get
Right.
occupied in other things instead, and it is a huge loss for the man, and if he's a kind and respecting man, he may or may not complain about it, but most men are very unhappy not to have a sex life, and then menopause, right, makes it all the more
Yeah.
justified and all the more excuses and all the more complications. It becomes a downward cycle. In regards to communication, men complain that women complain too much and want too much and are too needy, annoying, nagging, that ilk, and women complain that men do not talk about their feelings, don't share where they're at, we don't know what's going on with you, and also they don't listen well.
Well, I have
Communica
to tell you, I've got to jump in with something that I heard. I don't know if this is true or not, just like everything else in the world today. I remember hearing, and I think it was from one of my guests, that when women talk, they relieve stress. When men talk, they get stressed. Ta-da!
True enough. I don't know if that is universally true. I think that biologically and certainly evolutionarily, I think men are better equipped to silently hunt deer and bring home food to feed the family, whereas women are safer if they're talking because that scares away snakes and that's how they
Uh-huh.
relate to their community. And when the men are out hunting, the women are the community. They have to jointly care for the children, find the berries, go do the best
Yep.
practices in terms of tending the land and the children, and talking is very advantageous for that role. So I do think that there are some potentially some evolutionary reasons why talking feels safer to women and less safe to men. If you talk on a deer hunt, you'll scare away the deer, your family will starve. So anyway, that's a an interesting and fun little, dichotomy there. I certainly think most people experience it in their day-to-day lives that it is that we have different needs, right?
Yeah.
That in general, men and women, husbands and wives have different needs, and the goal isn't to be the same. The goal is to see how many of the other's needs we can meet, while
Right.
not sacrificing our own needs. That's the big challenge.
Mhm.
I'll just throw in the third thing about division of labor. There's a couple issues that come up with division of labor. One is that sometimes couples make it to their 50s and still haven't talked about who should be doing what, which is
Mhm.
insane, right? I have my daters talk about it before they even,
Yeah.
go steady, right? What you should talk about responsible for what, right? Oh, I wanted you to plan the date. I didn't know. Oh, I
Right.
massage my back before I have sex. I didn't know. Like, oh, I need you like
Uh,
it's your job to put the toilet seat down. I didn't know. Like my last lady didn't mind.
uh,
It's remarkable how much we take for granted that someone should read our minds or that these things should be obvious. If I cook, he should do the dishes, right? Like,
right.
oh, I didn't know. My mother did both. So division of labor goes completely unexplicit, like not discussed. And then oftentimes, what's happening is people are doing things that are invisible to the other. So there is this great need for appreciation for what I'm doing that is not getting handled. No, the man is doing things, maybe for the finances or for the car or for their I mean, I know that my husband does hours of work to ensure my financial viability when he's dead, which hopefully will be in 40 or more years.
Mhm.
He's doing that work and it is invisible to me. And I'm
Mm.
doing the work of calling the kids and making sure they're good and sending them little gifts and notes and texting. Like I'm doing all this stuff. It's invisible to him. He doesn't know. And I think I'm doing such a good job as a wife and a mother and a partner. And he thinks he's doing such a good job. But
Right.
the things we actually want, we're not asking for. So everyone then ends up feeling unappreciative,
Mhm.
unappreciated, excuse me, unappreciated. So those are the 3 things I hear couples fighting about the most. So those are the things that require tools and systems to augment.
Okay, let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex.
I don't
My
oh, I red in the face, but tell me about it.
recommendation is you have it. The first thing that my coach said to me that she did not even know me. She was like, "You will be having sex with your husband regularly."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Why?" She was like, "You don't have sex to because you feel like it, you have sex to feel like it." Right, like, get over yourself. You don't feel like going to the gym, you don't feel like eating healthy, you don't feel like doing your work today either. I understand. We don't go by what we feel like, we go by our dreams, we go by our goals, we go by what we know is important to us. That was such a mind bender for me, I can't tell you.
Yeah, yeah, and I think too, putting the time in and that, that menopause thing, I mean, any kind of like breast cancer, anything like that that you go through, you do need to have things that are going to help you. Put the time in to learn what it is so that it doesn't feel like a thousand razor blades. And there are things, and I think that's for another episode. My face is red because my dad listens to all my
Or has sex. So did he. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
no,
But yeah, absolutely to your point, if I'm speaking to you and you are perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, your hormones are in flux, you are in flux, your body is in
yep,
flux. If you pick the right guy, and I hope you did, that's your best friend. You should be able to talk about
yeah,
that. You should be able to try every lube under the sun. You should be able to say faster, slower, harder, softer. You should be able to say, this is how I like it by now. Here's a toy I want to try, blah, blah. Like the list goes on and on. But the bottom line is if you 2 are a team, being solution oriented is hot and healthy for both of you. So
Yes.
my first assignment is sex is not negotiable. It's a date. It's date night. It's once or twice a week minimum
Mhm.
because it lasts. The good feelings last. It's hard to argue with someone you feel connected to. It keeps you
Yes.
connected. Generally, it is more important for a man than a woman, but that's a generalization. But what it will do for your man, you have no idea. Like, my man is a different human. I can't even believe I withheld sex for so long, given what a better human he is when I don't, right? Like,
Right.
it's night and day, right? It's like giving a woman sleep. Like,
Right.
how about that? So, and again, forgive the generalizations, but I think if the shoe fits. So, have sex regularly, don't make it a chip you can withdraw, don't make
Yeah.
it a thing you can take away or is threatened, it's something you 2 practice as a love practice. Sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it won't be as good, but it's a class, right? Like, you guys are in class, and class is over when you're dead, and it is your job to go to class, to show up to class, learn new things, do your best, get an A in class participation, and that's what it means to be married. Otherwise, you're roommates.
Right. Well, and I've got to say, Lori, so this is an interesting thing that I've learned is that if you want to communicate more, your husband will love to communicate about sex.
Start with that. What would you like more of? He'll be like, "What?"
You want to talk much?
It's an incredible correlation. It
Yeah.
really is. It really, really is. I mean, I don't know if I told you this story, but when I was first trying to save my marriage, I uncovered the fact that my husband was entirely distressed when I would interrupt him. Like,
Yes.
entirely distressed, and I had no idea, right? Because I don't really mind that much being interrupted. Just different cultures, right? Different
Mhm.
experiences. So, when I came to the brilliant conclusion, and this segues nicely into the communication
Yes.
that work in communication, AKA, just shut up and listen. When I realized I was committed to that because I believed in it spiritually and philosophically, not because I was good at it or thought it was easy in any way. I decided to create a promise and a consequence. So I promised not to interrupt, and my consequence was that I would owe him a minute of a blowjob for every time I did.
You didn't go that far the last that
Like, not on the first date. It was a brilliant design by my coach. It saved my marriage in one fell swoop because it handled a communication problem, and then it also handled my selfishness problem, which is that I didn't wanna give blowjobs. It also handled my husband feeling loved. Broke my heart when he said, "You know what? I'd rather you listen. I want to be listened to." I was like, "Oh." Like, he's like, "I love blowjobs, but, like, I actually really need you to listen to me." So that was huge, and then it really did get me out of my selfish rut. It got me out of interrupting with reckless abandon. It got me into my body. It got me relating to his sexuality again, which hadn't happened for years, but was important. And so it reignited that. So I kind of killed two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
that was much fun.
yeah, sorry. Between knowing he was gonna get laid and me knowing I was gonna get laid, which meant I then had to make it good. Right, like,
Yes.
if I gonna get out of it or have a headache or need to do something
Yes.
with it, I was then very much incentivized to figure out how to like it, which was great for me
Right.
for not interrupting so that now he wanted to talk to me, and I got to know a whole new human from that.
Right.
I think I did share this
You
before.
did share this, and it was really eye-opening, and I think I interrupted you when you were talking about it, and I went, "Yeah, I do that." And I actually talked to my husband about it, and, I realized I do interrupt him. I rush, Lori,
No,
you know?
I mean, I don't know about you, but my husband and I have completely different processing speeds.
Yes.
We do, and that's not he's played team sports, that which makes him so good at carrying things, lifting things, moving things, doing all the things he does for our family is also that which got him concussions and
Yes.
slow down his processing. You can't everyone's got liabilities. It does not make him dumber than me. It doesn't make him less valid or less deserving of being listened to.
Mhm.
So I take it as a spiritual practice. I forgive myself for wanting to go faster.
Yes.
There's not something wrong with me, but neither is there something wrong with him that he thinks about what he's going to say before he says it. That is not wrong.
Right.
So that is, a lot of women interrupt their husbands. A lot of men don't know how to ask for the attention. That's not something they're trained in. And some men really talk too much and don't let a woman get a word in edgewise.
Right.
So it's not a universal thing, but if the shoe fits and you want to work on that, it's something that pays off brilliantly.
Okay, so if there are women who want to kind of reignite things in their marriage, I guess they can share what we're learning today with their husbands and say, here's the three things. How do you think we
I
fit
do.
into this?
Yeah.
I can see that opening up the communication. And then you've got one more to talk about, which is that division of labor. And
Of late.
I had a little bit of a question that popped into my head when I thought about that. Because at this point in my life, I feel like I got a pretty good life here. I mean, my poor hubby's like holding down the fort and I'm running off to workout classes. And he's got the 401k and all the people under him. And I get to do this podcast. And once in a while, help people through a hard divorce. But I feel like I got it pretty good. But there were times during the marriage where I felt like, why the hell does he have no idea what's going on with the children? And he's like, deer in headlights about everything. But then I think I could also be a person so I stayed home for a period of time. I went to law school after the first 2 were born, but I stayed home and I think I felt like I had to let blood because I was staying home. And so like I got to do everything. And Lori, and it wasn't his fault. I never rested. I like was going 1,000 miles an hour, and now when I look at it, I tell my daughters, I mean, they're not, they're both busy working, but my daughter-in-law, that if you are someone who's gonna stay home, that's a job, and that doesn't mean that you don't ever get to rest. And I told my son that too, because his wife works less than him, she's a nurse, and so I can see that division of labor both ways. I can see it where I saw myself having to do way more because it wasn't fair because he was the one making the money, and I can see it the point where I was like, "Why am I doing all of this?
Right.
Trying to work, trying to go to school, trying to take care of the kids," and he is oblivious. And you're like, "Gal damn, I could run the world if that was all I had to focus on and I had a wife behind me."
I hear everything you're saying. And I have a few things to say about it. One is there's a lot of invisible labor going on both sides.
Yes.
And parenting and running a household is a full-time job. Anyone who's ever tried to do it knows that.
Mhm.
Problem is it's a full-time job that is 24 hours.
Yes.
So, unlike the job where you go into the office, even if you're in a law firm, right, and you bring work home, you are still expected to sleep through the night so you can do it
Yes.
again the next day.
Yes.
That is not true with parenting. So, I mean, I wish it was obvious. I like to think it's obvious, but I do have to tell a lot of my clients running a household is a full-time job. And depending how big your household, I have a lot of wealthy clients, running their household is like a CEO job.
I know.
It's not even just a job. It's just like going into Starbucks and being a barista.
Right.
It's truly an executive functioning job with a
Yes.
lot of moving parts and probably more to do than one person can do. That is a job. It should be treated like a job. And by the way, I had role reversal when I had 2 young children. I was the main breadwinner and my husband was taking care of the children, but he was also taking care of the car and the house and the real estate and the investments and the
Mhm.
shopping and the cooking and like he was all I was doing was working and maybe like one breastfeed in the middle of the night while I was still asleep. He was
Yeah.
even taking the kid after the breastfeed and putting the kid back to like he was doing the biggest share of the work, and I was doing the work that made me happy, that was fulfilling, that was
Yeah.
meaningful, that was got me in the world, like, it was
Yeah.
a role reversal about what a lot of people feel or experience, and then At one point, we were arguing enough that we sat down and we talked about what it would cost if we hired out for everything my husband was doing. And I had the epiphany, I'm not making enough money to cover, like, this man is actually earning, quote unquote,
Right.
more than what I am doing to earn the money that I am earning. Holy crap. I have been taking him for granted. I have been
Mhm.
unproductive. So that was a huge eye opener. I like that for any gender
Yeah.
situation. Um, but my dream for couples is that everyone gets to do the thing that they like to do and want to do. And hopefully there is enough resource from those activities to cover things that
Yes.
nobody wants to do. And then with the pile of stuff that nobody wants to do, the goal would be to equitably split those things. If you believe
Yes.
in equality, I happen to believe in it, not all couples do. But if you believe in equality, that would be the target. But who's responsible for what has more to do with who is better at it,
Yep.
cares more about it than 50-50, because you can't define 50-50 when things are weighted more differently. By the way, my husband likes to do the dishes and the chores and the car and so how do you weight that, right? Like,
Right.
even though what he's doing is worth more money than what I'm doing, he actually enjoys doing that, and I enjoy doing this. So you can't try to do 50-50 fair. You have to do everyone's happy fair.
Right. Right. I love that. And I see the issue arising, like I think in my own life. For some reason, neither of us want to take care of finances. We just want the other person to say, no, you can't do that, or yep, you can. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure my husband's better at it, Lori. So I'm going to have a talk with him tonight. I think he is.
You know, it doesn't mean, even if you're better at something, doesn't mean the other person doesn't help, right? Or doesn't support.
Right.
There's a CEO and a president.
Yes. Yeah.
Not CEO, and it should be the person that's better at it or cares more about it.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband folds clothes better than I do, but I care more that the clothes get folded a
Gotcha.
better way.
Yes.
You really have to ask yourself.
Yep.
And then if nobody wants to do it, I think this is really important. I give my clients a tracker with 150 things, and they have to fill out who does it, who's responsible, are we happy with it, can we delegate it, so we can see it all visually. That to say the truth, neither of us wants to do this
Hmm.
is in and of itself a breakthrough,
Well, I'm
right?
glad to hear that because my husband and I had a breakthrough. Well, like, I don't want to.
It's better than he should, no, she should, no, he
Yeah.
shouldn't, and just resentments and sarcasm and quip and like little jabs.
Mhm.
Neither of us wants to do this. What should we do? Maybe we can give it to the kids. Figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
there are things over the years that we have negotiated and
Rest.
negotiated. Because when our businesses have been busy, my husband and I, there have been times when someone has come in and cooked for us
Yeah.
because we needed that. And then there were times when we were like, that's not worth the money. That's not worth it.
Right.
One of us or the other one of us will do it. So
Yep.
you get to keep negotiating. But remember, best friends, team, joint
Yeah.
resume. So you decide together what's best for the unit. And it's okay if it changes and evolves as long as everyone's saying the truth about what they need and the other one's attempting to help you get your needs met,
Yeah.
not at the expense of their own.
I think what I love about what you're talking about today, and it's almost time to wrap up here, Lori. It went so fast, I knew it would. But to me, what I'm hearing for the most important piece, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that communication. Communicate, like, you said sex, communication, division of labor. But if you can communicate about the sex, you're opening the
Absolutely.
door.
For my
If you can
well,
communicate about the division of labor.
right. Let me just give you one more principle and
All right.
wrap up, which is in every relationship, there is the physical integrity, the emotional integrity, and I call it spiritual integrity, but you could call it philosophical integrity. And what I mean by that, philosophical integrity is when you guys agree on the principle.
Mhm.
Some couples agree on the principle of equality, some don't. Some couples agree the woman should work. Some
Mhm.
couples don't, right? Like some people don't. There are different philosophies, and most couples do not talk about their philosophies. They make
Right.
assumptions of philosophy.
Right.
Philosophies change and they don't update each other. Or sometimes
Right.
you have a philosophy, but you're not living true to that philosophy, right? Like you have a philosophy,
Right.
listen, but you don't. So there's often a conversation to be had about, do we agree on the philosophy? And that's usually a good place to start. So, for example, husband, do you agree that one of us should be managing the finances? Yes or no? Do you agree that we should be managing our finances? What do we think we should be doing? That's a philosophical question. That's a good place to start because it does not have emotional content.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't actually require very good communication unless it gets emotional. It's really like, what do you think about this? Let me hear what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what I think, and then we'll see how we feel. The emotional integrity has to do with how you feel. And so what you're saying is like the emotional integrity is the most important, right, Lori? It's how you feel about each other because you're either connected and communicating or you're not. I would agree that's the most important. I would agree that can trump. You could disagree philosophically, but if you understand each other and you have compassion for where the other one is at, that can clear up a problem, even if you don't philosophically agree, even if you're not following your rules. Just to know that you get it, that it hurts me. When I interrupt you, it hurts, and you get that that hurts.
Right.
That is powerful. More powerful than me never interrupting, more powerful than me agreeing that interrupting is wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me saying, "I get it. I hurt you. I'm sorry." Yes, I agree. Most important, and that happens in communication. Philosophical alignment, very important for the long-term maintenance of a
Yeah.
household being run together and love being exchanged. Emotional integrity, yes, the most important, the underpinning for all of it. When I work with couples, we have to clean that up quickly because we cannot talk about physical integrity until that is in place.
Mm-hmm.
Physical integrity is physical solutions. Okay, we're going to look at the checkbook together once a month. We're going to
Yep.
talk to each other about any purchase over $300. We're going to meet with a financial advisor by November 30th. Those are physical integrity answers that can only really be concluded effectively if the emotional integrity is in. So if the communication is good and it feels good, then we are much smarter to come up with physical solutions that will sustain a better situation going forward.
Yep. And I love that you just brought this up because you just played out what we're doing with our finances. So I love that. That is what we're doing. And when you talk about philosophies, I think that's where I lucked out. I think we do have our basic philosophies in line, even when they've changed. So that I think is that blessing. And how did I stay married this long? I don't even know
Oh,
what I'm doing. That's
yep. Yet you had an intuition at some point.
yeah.
Guy and I think alike, and that's a huge advantage. That
Yeah.
is a huge advantage because that emotional stuff goes in and out in
Yeah.
any healthy couple, and the physical stuff has to keep being renegotiated as we change and have new and different needs. So if
Yep.
you have that baseline of philosophical alignment, huge, and that's again, like, if you're a dater, go to my other.
No, and that's what I'm thinking of too. So if you're looking for love and dating, don't forget that. Don't forget how important that is because when you want to end up, if you're going to end up with somebody, it's a big deal. And so make sure these things align and you're not feeling rushed. So, Lori, we have to go, but this is so amazing. I am so grateful to you. I love chatting with you. You open me up to things I don't normally talk about. And I love that. And you just are a gift. So thank you so much. And just tell me if people want to get a hold of you for help and, getting their marriages back on track, how can they reach you?
LaurieGerber.com is the best place. LaurieGerber.com. You will see that most of my stuff is uh, geared towards dating. That's just because that's what I'm having fun with right now. I work with couples, I work with individuals, I work with everyone. So just dig into the coaching section of the website and you'll see what I do for couples and individuals if that's what you're looking for.
Wonderful. And I love that because I love it when people can stay together. So, all right. Thank you so much. You take good care.
You too.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Saddle Up Live. As we conclude this exhilarating journey together, don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts, and become a valued member of our vibrant community. Because, as always, every woman deserves to thrive, flourish, and live her best life. Until the next time, saddle up and keep conquering those trails.